Good morning, everyone. Have a nice day. What is an earthquake? An earthquake is the shaking of the surface of the earth. What causes earthquakes? Let's see in this lesson what causes earthquake. So, the title is Earthquake by M.S. Mahadevan. So, in the text, greetings, traveler. You look tired and cold. Are you a stranger to these paths, waiting for the bus to Badrinath? Perhaps you are a pilgrim or a visitor to the Valley of Flowers. Anyway, whoever you are, come with me, wait at my tea shop. It just past the bend in the road. As you can see, I am carrying this can of milk to the shop. In 10 minutes, I will have a fire going. While you warm yourself, I will prepare for you the best cup of tea in all Garwal. It will chase away the blue look from your face. Here we are. Welcome to my humble roadside tea shop. Make yourself comfortable on this wooden bench. It looks rickety, but it will hold your weight. See here in this story, a tea shop owner describing his life, the unforgettable incident of his life with a visitor. The visitor who looks so tired. He waited for the bus to Badrinath. There, the tea shop owner carrying a can of milk from bus stop to his shop. As he was carrying a can of milk, he took the visitor to his shop to offer a best tea. The tea shop owner offered tea and asked him to sit in the wooden bench, which is broken. My name, sir, I am called Bridge. I am 17 years old. I started this tea shop 2 years ago. Before that, I worked in a roadside shop outside Panipat. The heat, the crowd, the pollution, it was all too much. I had saved most of my earnings. I came back and with a little help, I started the shop. By the grace of God, it provides me a decent enough livelihood. Here, your tea is ready, strong, sweet flavored with cardamom. Enjoy, sir, while I get on with my chores. This is my daily routine. At sunset, I will shut my shop and walk back the 3 miles to my dwelling on the hillside. He introduced himself. His name was Bridge. So, Bridge, the narrator who is describing the story of his life, he was 17 years old. He started his tea shop 2 years ago. Before he was coming there, he worked in a roadside shop outside Panipat. He worked there in that shop, saved some earnings, and he came back to start his own shop. The name of my village? It was my village, the village of my ancestors. It is no more. Molti is gone. What happened to my village? It was 4 years ago, in the month of October, one night the earth quaked. Yes, tremors are common in these parts. These snows may seem eternal. The Himalayas may look solid, but the truth is, deep down they are unstable. We who live here are accustomed to tremors. But what happened that night was more than that. It was a terrible earthquake. Its effects were felt as far away as Delhi and Lucknow. Molti is one of the villages in Uttarakhand. See, he belongs to Molti. He was lived in Molti. 4 years ago in their village, one night earthquake. That was very common in their village side, but unfortunately that particular night it was more severe. They could feel the earthquake as far away as Delhi and Lucknow. Can you imagine the devastation at the heart of the earthquake? The epicenter was in a valley not far from here. There were 670 villages in the valley. 602 were destroyed. The earthquake lasted less than 5 minutes, time enough to set these centuries-old mountains crashing, to reduce our villages to rubble, to snuff out hundreds of lives. See, in the valley, there are 670 villages. As you all know, what will happen after the earthquake? Only devastation of the places. Among the 670 villages, 602 were destroyed. Yes, you can imagine how many places people have been destroyed. Molti is also destroyed, left only behind broken things. It was sheer chance that I was away that night. I had gone to Pori to buy my school books. I stayed the night at my uncle's house. We felt the tremors. We ran out into open. Again and again the tremors came. We spent the entire night outside. Pori lived through the night. Molti did not. For the living, the nightmare began at daybreak when the news trickled in of the large scale devastation. There were dozens of landslides, huge boulders thrown haphazardly across motorable tracks and roads. Precious time was spent in blasting the rocks and clearing the way for army rescue teams. It was all of 4 days before help arrived for Molti. That was really lucky chance to bridge move Pauri Garwal. Pauri is a place. He had gone there to buy books. He couldn't come back, so he stayed in his uncle's house at night. Even in Pauri also, they could feel the tremors. Tremors, slight earthquake shaking. After earthquake, the army rescue team arrived there to help the people. It was all of 4 days they trying to help the peoples removing stone, rocks. No, the building and the houses were destroyed, right? They will remain only dust, stone, and rubble. I was among the first to reach the village. My uncle accompanied me. We feared the worst, but nothing had prepared us for the what we saw. Every single house, every wall, every roof had been flattened. Stone, rubble, and dust were all that remained. Our house was two-storied stone building with a slate roof. My great-grandfather had built the house. We were a small family. My father had died after an illness just 14 months ago. My mother took care of us. We were 3 children. I was the oldest. My brother Nilu was 10. Bully, my 2-year-old sister, was the baby of the family. My grandmother lived with us. Bridge's house was two-storied building with a slate roof. The house was built by his great-grandfather. Every single house had been flattened there. In their family, there was a mother, grandmother, younger brother Nilu, and 2 years old sister Bully. His father had died after an illness just 1 year ago before the earthquake arrived. When the soldiers began to clear the debris, my uncle led me away. I was in the complete daze, too numb to feel anything. The soldier had set up a makeshift camp. Someone gave me tea and biscuits. I don't know how long I was there. Suddenly it was evening and uncle was standing beside me. They have taken the bodies to the river bank. He said gently, "Come, you must perform the last rites before sunset. Tomorrow we will go back to Pauri." I had last seen my family while leaving to Pauri. They stood at the doorway and waved. Ma, Grandma, Nilu and Bully. This is the way I will always remember them, smiling and waving at me. Not as the white shrouded lifeless figure I saw. Bridge came with his uncle to Molti. He became frozen. He frozen on looking that. He couldn't feel anything there. Rescue team gave him tea and biscuits. He was standing there for long. Suddenly that was evening. His uncle standing beside him. His uncle said the corpses have taken to the river bank to do the final rites. Bridge the only left do the rites because he only left alive. That was the last moment he had seen his family. Before he was moving to Pauri, mother, grandmother, Nilu and Bully waved goodbye him, but that was a terrible goodbye. He saw them as the white shrouded lifeless figures instead of colorful figures. Bully, she was not there. They have not found her, my uncle said. The wild animals, Bridge, don't look that side. She is dead. But we must find her, I shouted. Bridge, get a grip on yourself, uncle pleaded. But I was beyond reasoning. I ran back to the village, to the spot where my house had stood. There was still so much debris. I scrambled around shifting the earth and stone. How long I was on my knees searching, crying, searching. There was only 3 corpses. There was no Bully. His uncle said the rescue team did not find her. She would have died. But Bridge always wanted to do the final rites to her. So he was cried out to find her. He gone there to search, but no use. Boy, it is no use, a voice said. I looked up. The speaker was the army officer who had supervised the relief operation. There is no one alive in there. He said, whom are you looking for? My sister, sir, I said, fighting to control my tears. All I want is to give her a proper cremation. I stopped, conscious that I was babbling. I could see that he was bone tired. He looked up as if he had not slept for days. His uniform was covered with dust. His face was grimy, but through all the dust and green, I saw that his eyes were kind. There standing army officer who had supervised the relief operation, the army officer pacified him. The army man, the supervisor, looks very tired. His uniform was covered with dust, but his eyes were so kind. My men have been on their feet for days, he said softly, as if talking to himself. They have done all they could here. Tomorrow at daybreak, we go to another village just like this, then another. He looked away at the sun setting behind the peaks. Down in the valley, the pyres burnt row upon row. The officer muttered something, shook his head, and turned away. A terrible despair engulfed me. I lay there among the ruins of my house and cried. 10 minutes later, the officer was back. With him were three soldiers armed with spades and crowbars. Without a word, a man began removing the debris. They labored doggedly. When it was completely dark, someone brought a few lit Petromax lamps. 2 hours later, a soldier called out, "Sir." He said softly, "His men have been searching every nook and corner in the village, whether is anyone hurt or alive. At the same time, have done all they could. They have all done they could." He was telling that they have to move another village also to rescue people or to give some help. He was terribly sad. After 10 minutes, the officer came. The one army man came with three soldiers and took their spades and crowbars. The officer started removing the stone, take away the stones, dust. It was completely dark. Bridge could recognize the place where they were standing. It was a familiar place to Bridge. They did their work in. The army man with three soldiers did their work in the light of Petromax lamps. He stood in the middle of the small hollow. The wall had caved in at that spot. I recognized a part of a door. Beneath it, a small foot. Feverishly, the soldier began to clear the hollow. Then they lifted the door. "She is alive," someone said. It was a miracle. She had been buried under the debris for 116 hours. She had survived the earthquake, the cold nights, and the wild animals. A raged cheer went up, and the soldier wrapped her in a warm blanket and carried her to the tent where the makeshift hospital had been set up. Bully lived. The next day, I went to thank the army officer, but he was gone. I did not even know his name. After some time, someone said she is alive. His younger sister, who is 2 years old, had been buried under the debris for almost 4 days. They helped her to cover blanket and taken to the hospital. Bridge and Bully came back with their uncle to Pori. The next day, Bridge wanted to thank the officer, but he was gone there. My sister and I went on to live with my uncle. Soon after, I got a job at Daba near Panipat. Bully stayed back. She started going to school. It waited on me that I never thanked that army officer. I hoped that one day I would run into him again. Every time I saw an army man, I would hope it was him. For months, I would search for his face in every crowd, and one day I did find him. See, his sister started going to school. He got the job in roadside Daba near Panipat, but he was sure that he will find the army man to thank one day. It happened. He found him. It was late on a winter's night. A truck stopped at the shop. A man got out. He looked familiar. When he stepped into the light, I saw that it was not him, just someone who bore a strong resemblance. The man was tired. He asked for a cup of tea. As I served him, sir, I felt this strange lightness, this sense of joy. When the man offered to pay, I did not take the money. The next day, it happened again. Every day, I would see someone, a complete stranger, a tired traveler, who reminded me of that officer. It was as if he was everywhere. And every time I served him tea, I felt a surge of sheer joy. One night a truck, see, One night, a truck stopped at a shop. A man got out that was a familiar face to him, but that was not the same officer. Even though he used to offer a tea without taking money, he kept giving a tea from those coming tired or any stranger. As he served him tea, he felt lightness in his heart. He took the joy to giving tea those coming to the shop as he gave that army officer. He thought that he is giving that army officers. A month later, I quit my job at the shop and returned to those mountains. The shop owner was quite relieved. He had no use for a waiter who kept forgetting to present the bill to the customer. Now I am on my own and I am at peace. Here is your bus, sir. No, no money. You were tired. All I offered you was a cup of tea. Maybe it was the best tea in all Garwal. Maybe not. But I am happy I could do you the small service. Wish you a safe journey, sir. May God be with you. It was going 1 month. After that, he quit his job in roadside dhaba. The owner was relieved to see who can adjust with a boy who give tea without giving bill. But now he was at peace. His own shop, he can give tea those coming to his shop. The traveler also tired, and also he tried to give money to the for the tea, but he didn't take. He offered a best tea. He wished a traveler safe journey. As he got help from that army man, he also helped many people as he could. See, in this story, Bridge tells his story to the traveler that his village had faced a terrible earthquake which lasted less than 5 minutes and destroyed 602 villages out of 670 villages in that area. Fortunately, Bridge was away that night to buy school books. His brother, mother, and grandmother could not survive that earthquake. During the search, the army rescue team, found all the corpses of his family except his little sister, Bully. She was eventually found by an army officer. She had been buried under the debris for 116 hours. After the tragic incident in his life, Bridge and his sister went to live with his uncle. He got a job at Daba near Panipat after some time. His sister started going school again after some time. Bridge tells the traveler that he never got chance to thank that army officer who saved his sister and hopes that one day he would get a chance to thank the officer. Every time he saw the army man, he would hope it was him. For a month he could search for his face in every crowd, and one day he did find him. Here the story ends. Thank you.